And here we are. The first thing I'm going to say about this particular model, or this car in general, I do like this version better than the GTD C8 that was around prior to this version. I believe they first started racing the GT3 version in 24, so just a year ago. It might have been 23. But I do like this version better. At first I didn't, but now I really do. I think it's also because of the fact that this is an actual Z06, whereas the other was a C8 Stingray. So, yeah. The other thing I can say is that this yellow, so this yellow is a different shade than what was used previously for their C8 race car. And I just like the shade so much better. It's just a much more vibrant color. And Top Speed has captured this very well. This color matches, so I would not be surprised if they actually were using the exact same paint code as the real car, because it is very accurate. The overall shape on this model is perfect to the exact model, which is really good. You don't find too many issues with shape anymore, especially if it's a resin model, because the resin material is very formable. Well, you get what I'm saying. It's can make it basically true to form. It's very malleable. And the other thing about using the resin material as well is that the adhesion to the paint is much easier than you would find on a die-cast metal model. So definitely they have it there. If you move to the front of this model, you have this beautiful front end. It is very accurate to the real deal. You do have my favorite part, which is the lenses, especially on the lower half of this model. I really do like the LEDs. These things look just like the real thing. And I would have to say, for me anyway, this is actually my favorite part of the model because it's the most realistic aspect of this particular model to the real car. What is not realistic in this front end is this grille here. This should be a true perforated grille, and it's not. It's a plastic piece with molded lines to appear like it's a mesh grille. The actual car, you can see through it, so there is some transparency. That has been the case with all of the Corvettes from Top Speed, so that would be the not only the C8 but also the C7s as well. And it is unfortunate because I do think, especially in this day and age, it's a very simple thing to replicate the real car and have the real perforated grille. Moving on to the back of the model. The tail light lenses are fairly accurate. No complaints there at all. There's not a whole lot going on back here that Top Speed did as far as making this look like the real deal, so it's not that difficult. These black parts here, these actually should be open. They should not be closed off like this. But again, that's just, I would believe, a cost-cutting measure, because if they cut these out, there would have to be more details, like engine details, to show. So obviously they didn't want to do that. The tail pipes look like metal pieces. Not sure if they are, but they definitely look the part. And they are deep enough to, I believe anyway, they're deep enough and look realistic enough. Now, let's go ahead and take a closer look at this model. Here we have a closer look at the front wheel tire combination, and I do like how Top Speed accurately replicates the tire wheel combination for their race cars. They do an excellent job. Everything that you'd want out of a well-detailed rim tire combination is here. I really do like the carbon ceramic brake. It definitely looks like the real thing. You have a very well detailed caliper as well, and the scripting on the tires is perfect. The tire looks nice and soft. It's not, but it definitely looks that way. It looks like a true inflated piece of rubber. The only thing that is missing on this is the valve stem. Same thing for the rear tire. It's obviously larger than the front, just like the real deal. Again, you have nicely detailed rims, brake calipers, the carbon ceramic disc, and the tire is thicker in the back, just like it should be, than the front as well. Decal work on this model is fantastic. It's very durable, does not feel like it's going to fade or go away anytime soon, if ever. You do have the digital display here, and it is a decal, and I wouldn't expect any more than that, but it still looks very good. It's a very good decal. And again, this is throughout the entire model, so, and everything is placed correctly. Nothing is out of place. There's nothing scratched. In other words, the quality control on this particular model is excellent. With most of your sports cars, especially your GT3 cars, they all are going to have these antennas or aerials throughout, and you have to be very careful because they are extremely delicate and they can get caught on certain things. So if you're not paying close attention to this, especially with this black roof, you can make a mistake and knock them off. So just be very, very aware of that. This large opening here is to accommodate this large radiator where the air flows in from the front from that non-perforated grille and cools through this radiator. So it is very functional. And I do like that this piece, it's not quite photo etched, but it is molded and it does look believable. Because this is a sealed model, which means that none of the parts open, the best you're going to get is glaring through the windows of this model. And as you can see here, this is the steering wheel. It is very well detailed. You can see the Chevrolet, or I should say the Corvette emblem in the center. You have all your dials and buttons, and I like the fact that they do have some color to them. Now I can tell you this interior is definitely not fully detailed like the real car. It doesn't have all of the elements that you would expect. In fact, as I'm digging through here, and I'm really shocked at this because I usually see this on top speed models, there is no seatbelt. There's no harness at all. And usually they would have the harness, and it's not apparent here. So that's definitely a miss. And yeah, everything is black, and the real car, there is definitely more color and more elements than what you're seeing here. Like most quality models, you have this dashboard, which is a digital dashboard, and as you can see, because this light is on the dashboard, in other words the camera light, it almost looks as if it's glowing, and that is again this reflective decal. If you look further, there's a center panel as well, and you can see the controls and things through there as well. So even though this doesn't open, it definitely makes you want to take a closer look, you know, usually through a light or even maybe a magnifying glass to, you know, see these interior elements, because they are well done for what you do have here. Look at the passenger side, you do have the safety net, and it looks very convincing. You can see more of that control panel with all the different colors, and then you see this panel here, or this, as we call it, the wall. So on the production car we call it the wall of buttons because there's a lot of control buttons up there. It's actually going away for 2026, so they actually got rid of that. I personally liked the wall of buttons, but yeah, it is going away. So I'd assume at some point with these you won't see that either. There's a glance of the floor of the passenger side where there would be additional controls, including the cool box that keeps the driver cool. And as you can see, everything is just a monochrome black, which again is not true to the real thing, but at least they do have something that you can look at. The back window does reveal some of the engine because this is obviously a rear or mid-engine car, and just like with the interior on the passenger side, everything is just blacked out. There's no color, and obviously there are missing elements. And this is very indicative of a budget model, so I'm not that surprised. But honestly, I almost think I would have preferred if it was just all blacked out. I have a tendency not to like to see half done or monochrome parts, because to me it's a half-hearted attempt to make the model or the car convincing. So personally, I wish they would have just tinted it out black. But then again, if you pull back, I guess I can understand why they did that. So maybe not. Maybe I'll take that back. Well, I hope you enjoyed the review of this C8 GT3 that races in IMSA. There's also a version that also participates in the WEC as well. But again, this particular one is for IMSA. I think it's a fantastic model. Top Speed does a really great job of creating models that have really great shelf presence. They're very reminiscent of Spark. Is it up to the quality of Spark? Not quite, but it's pretty close. And some of that has to do with sometimes the models that come from Top Speed are produced in the same factory as the Spark models. Not this one in particular, but some of the Porsche RSRs in the past were definitely Spark models. I actually did a video and compared how similar almost everything was from a particular GT3 that was from Top Speed and a GT3 from Spark. So you should definitely check that video out. It's really interesting. Going back to this car, again, it has really great shelf presence. So what does that really mean? It looks good on a shelf. It looks great on a shelf, I really should say. And it doesn't mean up close it doesn't look terrible. It looks really good. It's just not one of those models like a full opening model that you could actually open doors and see the engine exposed and dig deeper. It's not an explorable model in that sense. And I think that's okay. There are categories. So you have your resin sealed models, which typically are going to be great shelf presence. Then you have your full opening models that again look great standing still, but also there's parts that open that you can explore. Now, that being said, sometimes that full opening model may not actually look all that great on the shelf. In other words, the panel gaps are bad because it is an opening model. So there's your trade-off. You have a model that looks great opening and exploring, and then you have one that looks great, i.e. typically your resin sealed, that don't. And just having this little conversation, it just makes me think I probably should do a video just explaining those differences. If I was to put a rating on this model, I'm going to give it $2.50 signs. I'm giving it $2 signs because it is a great model, but typically, especially non-opening racing models that don't have the grand history behind them, they are slow to grow in value. So what would make something like this grow in value? Well, if it was a Le Mans winning car, for example, that would make it grow in value in time. This particular car is not one of those, so it's not going to grow that fast. If it was, it would make all the difference in the world. Also, because this is a model that makes great shelf presence, let's take a look at how in my collection this would look amongst some of the other Chevrolet models that I have. And so here you are. This is the GT3 Z06 that we just reviewed. I actually exchanged this out for the GT AM car that participated in Le Mans, a Le Mans winner, and that one actually had a race finish to it, so it was a dirty car. And I did replace it with this one, only because amongst all the other Corvettes that I have in my Corvette display, these are all obviously clean, and that dirty version just looked odd sitting there while amongst all these clean cars. So this is the C8 GT Pro that participated in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the WEC, and this would be the Stingray version. And I definitely do, it took me a little bit, but now I really do like the GT3 Z06 more than I do the Stingray. I just like it looks more aggressive. The other ones that I have here, this is the GTS, this is the C6. It's a really great looking model. This one is by Auto Art. And then over here you have the GT1, and this is the C6, and it is the C6, by the way, is my favorite Corvette of all time. If I could, I would definitely get a C6 road car. I just think they're beautiful. This is an Auto Art, and believe it or not, this is a sealed Auto Art. So if you didn't know, Auto Art actually used to make cars that did not open at all, and this is one of them. And I think it's a great looking model. And yes, of course, most people prefer the models to open, but I thought that looked really good as a sealed model. This is from BBR, believe it or not. That's very rare. But this was the Long Beach participant in 2014, and it is by far the most beautiful C7 as a race car anyway, because it's by BBR and it's just really well detailed. And just a side note, I do have an auto art. This was the Le Mans winner for Pro, and I can definitely say this is a partially opening model. I like the BBR much better. The details are just far better than the auto art. And then of course I already mentioned this one here, which is the Stingray, and that brings you back to the Z06. So that is the Corvette display. So you guys, I guess you could say this is kind of a teaser of my overall display, which again is coming up very soon. And next time we'll have another Spotlight News. There's a few other reviews that I definitely have coming up, so you should look forward to that as well. Please like and subscribe. That is the best way I'm going to know you're enjoying these videos. I really do appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you next time.